Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Sacred Souls podcast. Today, I am so excited because this is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a very long time. I'm sitting down with someone who had the exact same breast cancer as me, which is triple negative, and it is the most aggressive form. But this is someone who chose a completely different path. I have declined chemo and radiation and trusted my intuition to guide my healing. But my guest today said yes to conventional treatment while also honoring her spiritual practice as a Reiki Master and energy healer. So we both had the same cancer, but two different choices. And today we are exploring why. So without further ado, I am here with Cindy Ryan, who is a Reiki Master, spiritual guide, and mom who has navigated her cancer journey through both conventional medicine and energy healing. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I am excited to be here and share.
Yay! And I just want to preface this for everyone because I know it could be a touchy subject, but we're not trying to have this conversation of like what's right or what's wrong. And sorry, my dog. This is about, two women getting curious about how we both made, the hardest decision of our lives, what we learned, and what healing really means beyond just being cancer free. So I'm just so grateful that you are here.
Yes.
So the first question I wanted to ask you, well, so basically, if you could just tell us kind of a little bit about, because I know you already are in the spiritual world, so maybe start with that and then how you found out that you were diagnosed.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start a little bit a little bit like you shared with me. I have always really been mystical. I could see things as a child. I could feel things at a level I actually assumed everybody was like me. So I just thought we all were walking around and seeing ghosts and or spirits. Back then, I would just call them ghosts. I could tap into yeah, I could just tap in and not really understand it, but it was very overwhelming to me. Energy in rooms, all of that. Like you hear so many people, I shut it off as much as I possibly could. I recognized that the way I was taking in energy as a person was in my body. I was feeling it. So my entire life, I have ended up having a lot of physical things happen to me because I haven't been able to always express what I've been feeling or the energy that I've been taking on, whether it's from an environment, from an experience, from other people around me. So I went on to actually live a very different life for quite a while. I was a licensing officer for childcare, so a very black and white type of job for about 20 years. But in that, people would always say that while I was living that type of life, which was policy and forms and must follow the rules, there was something in me that just it never really made sense to me. I always tried to have things make sense to me, but I just knew I wasn't living the life I was supposed to live. And so I'd married young, I had two young children, and suddenly it was like I was shedding that in a very uncomfortable way and left the marriage, left the job, obviously kept my children, um, but started to then, through a series of actual accidents, like physical accidents, come to my spiritual practice and begin to welcome back intuition. So that was about 12 years ago. And I welcomed in Reiki, all of it. And so luckily, I had been doing this work for about 7 years when no, probably longer than that, probably 8, 9 years when I got the nudge of what happened in my body. But the interesting thing for me was I actually didn't have a lump. I didn't have, I'd never gone for a mammogram. I've never had an ultrasound on my chest, but I tap in very often for myself, and I heard something that said, you need to go for an ultrasound. There's something in your chest. And I didn't ignore it. I could feel in my body that there was something I needed to address. So I called my doctor and said, I need an ultrasound. I just do. And she was like, okay, yeah, sure, it's your breast. Now, here in Canada, they do actually really, they do follow breast cancer very closely here. And so we went for an ultrasound, and they took an hour trying to find something in my breast. They came across a small little pea sized something. They said, "We, how did you find this? What is this?" Okay, this little tiny thing, maybe. And I said, "Well, I don't know. I got a nudge." And they said, "Well, we'll take a picture. We'll send it to your doctor. It's nothing. We don't think." And my doctor called back and said, "Well, Cindy, based on where it is, why don't we actually have it biopsied?" My doctor is amazing. And I said, "Sure, okay." So we went for a biopsy, and that day, I also got my first mammogram I've ever had. I have no breast cancer in my family. No, like I do have some breast cancer, but it doesn't run in my family. I don't have the gene. And then suddenly it wasn't breast cancer, or it wasn't cancerous. The biopsy came back, but because I had put all of these things in place, the mammogram that they had showed a slight shadow, and that shadow began to grow into a lump. And um, within 2 months, that shadow was growing and growing. And because I had set this all up, my doctor had had me in place with a surgeon who said, like, the story is actually really wild, but so the surgeon who nobody can get to, that nobody, like, it's months and months to actually get in touch with this person. I was already in the lineup, and he called and said, "I'm calling about your breast and the mammogram." And I said, "Yeah, I heard it was non-cancerous." And he said, "Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the shadow, and I need you to come in right now. We need to check it." And I said, "Yeah, it actually feels like a bit of a lump." And by time I got back to him, and by time I was in there, the lump had grown. I got a second biopsy on that one, and within 2.5 months, it was 5 centimeters. They determined it was triple negative, and it was so aggressive, and they all were just blown away, because if I had waited any longer, and the same story as you, like, it would have grown, because it was growing at such a rapid pace, and I had caught it at just the right time. So for me, my story was, they were like, "You got to start chemo basically this week," and a double mastectomy. And for me, it was, I've got my two kids. I've got all these things I need to think about. And the choice just became very simple. I thought, yeah, okay, here we go. Whatever can get me to the other side the fast enough, let's just get it done.
Okay, well, there's a lot to unpack there. Thank you
I
for
know.
sharing all of that.
That's the whole story there. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good gems in there just as far as like listening to your intuition because, that's basically what I promote all the time. And even though I listen to my intuition with mine after the
Yeah,
diagnosis of what to do, it's like you're just proving, look what happens when you listen to your intuition even from the beginning because, you wouldn't have even found this if it wasn't for your intuition, right?
exactly.
And then when you were, so I am not really familiar. I know that there's like free, supposedly like free healthcare in Canada, but
Yeah.
so you can just basically go and say like, I want to get an ultrasound. like without being referred from a doctor or anything?
You can go, you have to go to your doctor to say, I want to have an ultrasound, but you can, and then you get a referral. You can get a mammogram by yourself without your doctor's referral, but you do need to go to your doctor to just get an ultrasound. But they are all free. You don't have to pay for. I mean, you pay into them via
Right,
your
right.
taxes, but yeah,
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like here I couldn't probably, like, I don't think, I mean, it could be wrong, but I don't think I could just show up to like a radiology place and be like, just give me one. Like, I think that you have to be
yeah,
referred and all of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I feel like most doctors here, at least if you just said, like, oh, like my intuition's telling me to get one, like, they probably would be like, what?
Yeah.
So I'm just really glad that that was like the way it didn't go that way, for you, and that everything seemed very divinely guided. And I also feel like it just shows too overall the universal support, because it's like, you did get that mammogram, and I feel like if it wasn't for that too, you wouldn't have found this. So I feel like everything was just lining up to help you ultimately.
100%. And I do feel like I know people, lots of people will say, their doctors say, don't worry about it. If they say they feel something, like there's a lot of people that have that story. And what I always have just urged is we are our own agency. Are we are the only one that knows our body. And I think again, my example for myself is I actually did have skin cancer before this. And nobody believed me when I said, I have this, it's on my face, I know what this is. And everyone was like, no, Cindy, okay, well, if it is, it's just very minor. And I could feel in my body that it wasn't. I knew that I needed, like, and I think this is what you know too. Like, when there's something wrong with you, it's like you just know that you have to trust this feeling. And I remember walking into the dermatologist and saying, this has to be corrected immediately. And he said, okay. And he called the next day and said, you're completely right. And actually, we need to get you in the hospital right away to get that removed. It's actually not the simple type of skin cancer. So I think since then, my doctor has learned when Cindy says there's something, we
Right.
listen to her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too it's important for people to understand too, just from both of our examples, that when it's your intuition, it's like this very strong knowing. You're not going to question it. You're going to be like, I'm positive, like this is what's going on and this is how I feel. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, the difference between, fear and intuition, is that if it
Yes.
was not your intuition, like maybe you would be questioning it or feeling scared or anxiety and all these different things. You'd be going back and forth. But I feel like when it's your intuition, it's like, I'm positive that this is it. And like, there's no swaying me in another
Yes.
direction.
Yes, that's it.
So I have noticed a pattern with women in breast cancer, just, I mean, not only from myself, but from the many numerous women I've now met since my journey,
Mhm.
that a lot of us are type A and a lot of us overgive and we put everyone else's needs first and we don't always, honor our own. Do you feel like you see that in yourself?
I am not type A.
Hmm.
I don't I don't fit the typical type A um, structure. But definitely I overgive, or I did overgive way too much. And I fit a lot of the type A um, like checkpoints. It's just I also have this whole other side, which is a little like, whoa, very type B, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and you can ask me more questions. I won't go too deep, but yes. So I would say there's the giving part. I thought I had fixed it until last January.
And then that's when you were like, okay, there's probably still more here.
Yeah, that's when, and I mean, I'm very aware we're always on a learning journey here. I know there's going to be other things, but uh, when January arrived, that's when I was diagnosed. That's when I really was knew that this whole treatment wasn't going to just be about me going through cancer treatment, it was also going to be me learning how to receive at the same time.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that is like for me at least, and other women too, is definitely the lesson of like learning how to receive and to, yeah, not just be like such a control freak all the time and do
Yeah.
everything ourselves.
Yes.
So when you also were diagnosed, like maybe not that second, but just since then, since you are, you do Reiki and spiritual healing and all of that,
Mhm.
were you able to kind of tap into what, I know we talked about, giving and receiving, but other than that, just any deeper emotional, energetic, spiritual causes?
I wrote, I think like you, I write, and I had written for myself. I wrote throughout the whole time, but I wrote right before it, and I can't even really remember what the actual words were. The core of it was that I needed to learn how to simplify and how to slow down, and which sounds oh yeah, okay, you just do that, but it really is actually a very hard thing to do.
No, it is.
And in that time, because this as it is at my heart space, it was to be able to recognize how that would give love back to myself, because I was really just giving it all away.
Right. And do you feel too that with the heart chakra, with the themes, I know I mentioned this in your podcast, so I'm just curious if you
Mm.
were like that too, but did you feel like you had any issues with like holding on to anger or resentment or like not forgiving people?
No, I have done a lot of work on forgiveness. And that's something I teach and something I love. like it's not forgiveness, but there and anger was not my biggest thing. I think it was and I don't actually know what the right words are. Now that I'm on this side, I feel so detached from it. But it it's so interesting sitting here now. It feels like a different person. Uh, it yeah it was because it was like this sadness that I had, that I
Grief.
wasn't aware of. Like I think in that 6 months where I really had to go to, because it was 6 months of just being on my, like, even though my kids were here, um, where because I didn't walk and I couldn't move around and I couldn't distract myself, I had to sit with this uncomfortable, raw sadness.
Do you think it was grief?
Yeah.
Because that's something that is very prevalent in the heart chakra, is
Yeah.
like where we hold grief. And
And
also too, it's like you were probably also grieving, an old identity and all of that.
yeah, like, and that's what I think. I'm just looking at it now. Like, I can think back to the thoughts I was having in that time, although I tried to hold this space of my future self and knowing where I was going to be. I was also okay to sit with the sadness of letting go of all of the old. And so there would be times where I was in like a lot of pain, to be quite honest. It was not nice. And I thought, you know what? I am getting rid of everything that my body never wants to see again. And so I'd be in this place of, I am, this sounds bad. I'm like, I am killing off everything that is not serving me. And I would visually like go back to a time and then I'd watch it die. And I'd visually see another part and I'd be like, and there it is. And I'd live it and then I'd watch it die. And then that would be how I would get through that week of it. I'd be like, ah, there, good. It's gone. I can grieve it. It's finished. It's dead.
I love that. Yeah, just like having it come up and then processing it out and
Yeah.
feeling it. And I
Hmm.
don't know if your doctor had told you this, but with triple negative, it does actually start 10 years prior. Did she tell you that? Did your doctor tell you that?
No.
So that's why I guess when I ask you, I wanted to clarify about the whole type A and all those things. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, it was like the day before where you like that. It's more like 10 years ago where you like that. And I know you said you had like your corporate job and all of that. So that's why
Yeah.
I was just curious because, yeah, it does start 10 years ago. It's 10 years, prior to when it like actually started growing and all of that. Like that's when it just
Well,
like switches and starts like the
that
mutation
makes
and all
a
of that.
lot of sense.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now, looking back 10 years ago,
Now
would
I
you
can
say that
correlate all that. Of course.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's actually a really interesting point because, and thank you, because I look at like when they say like the tumor came so quickly, right? And
Hmm.
so fast, but knowing that the cells, is like what you're saying, are all there for up to 10 years of growth. That was the hardest decade of my entire life. Like that was not.
Right. So this just makes sense now too, because
Yeah.
it's like, look at all of that. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like mirroring and reflecting, like, it was so hard for you. And then, like, look how it kind of manifested, like, into cancer, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Learning
thanks
so
for
much.
that aha moment. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you, so I always tell people that, I do feel like it, I'm grateful for having breast cancer and going through it. Obviously, it sucked at the time, but I think it made me a better person overall now that I've chosen to do the work and all of those things. And I'm just happy. Like, I know it sounds weird, but I'm happy that I went through it. So I'm just curious, like, do you feel the same way, or
A
is there anything
hundred
that like
percent.
cancer has taught you that like you couldn't have learned in any other way?
Yeah, I think and I think that's for a lot of people. I mean, maybe not, I don't want to speak for everyone. But I've heard on this side that's what most people feel because you have this although you maybe don't feel it in every moment or every day, um but it's this realization of um, the beauty of now. And there were so many aha moments for me of that we are all one, which we already like we know, but like you are in it, you're feeling it, you're recognizing it. And uh so now on this side, when you really hear people say like don't stress about or sweat about the small things, like there's really nothing too small that I can sweat over too much, right? Like, and so it's a whole different way to look at life. And I would never have like I sold my house in the middle of my cancer treatment, and I got rid of everything. And
Right.
people would have been like, "What?" But I was
Hmm.
no, like we don't need any of that. Like none of it. And it's all gone. And I am so calm. And yeah, like thank gosh.
Hmm. Yeah, like it seems like it was just this huge perspective shift for you.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think that's so important too, because it's like if you go through something like that and you learn nothing, then it's like, what was the point of it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think
Yes.
it's good to get all this wisdom, and especially when we're in the, careers that we're in, it's like then we're able to help other people, even if they don't have cancer specifically. But I mean, this just helps us, I feel like, be better humans and like have more wisdom to share with people.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So I think that's something I know. Um, it helped my community. It helped my family. The way we went about the healing process, and really that time, the chemo time. That's just one part, right? Like now you're in a whole other space, which is life changing, and I can see it's changed so many people's life. And the number of people who've now said I'm no longer scared of getting cancer because of the way you handled that. I recognize that what is important is how I walk at the path should I get it.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's important, like an important point, because now that I've been through, like, well, we both been through this. It's like now I have this mindset that, like, if you do get cancer, it's like, it's people always just panic because they think it's a death sentence, but
Mhm.
it's like we're proof that it doesn't have to be.
No, exactly. And yeah, it's a life like I was going to say it's a life sentence, but like it's like becoming alive. Like for me, I have never been fully alive before this time, is the way I look at it.
Right, like a wake up call.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I don't remember if I said this in your podcast, but I do feel like, yeah, it's like you have this wake up call and you're basically gifted a second chance and like redoing your life if you so choose it. And I feel like we both chose to actually work on ourselves
Yeah.
and reflect and go forward with that.
Yes, definitely.
So, lastly, is there anything that you want to share? Just maybe any advice for any other women if they are, going through anything like this, or just maybe about listening to their intuition too, if they feel anything in their body or they're faced with these kinds of decisions.
I think the biggest thing, the biggest learning I had, which, like you spoke of at the beginning, is there is no one size fits all when it comes to cancer treatment, when it comes to any sort of health awareness. Anything, my wording's not great there, but what I recognized for myself was what I thought or assumed I would have done for myself if I had heard I had breast cancer was actually very different than how I handled it. And and if I was to get another cancer, I know I probably would handle it differently again. So for anyone to know that what they are feeling in a moment, like to go with that and to trust how they're feeling, to trust that if they don't want to talk to anyone, if they want to change their treatment plan halfway through, if they want to talk to somebody new, if they all of that is their right. I think I told you, like I did 3 chemo treatments and I was like, I want to stop. Like I couldn't, my body was saying no more. They had me in for 16 chemos and radiation. And I just heard, I was like, I need more data. I need more info. And I called my whole team together. I was like, there's something in me saying this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was so glad I didn't just like think I wasn't allowed to ask those questions or change my treatment plan or stop things when I wasn't comfortable. We are allowed to do that.
I love that. And also, too, it's just like not only are we allowed to, but it's like just listen to your body
Yeah,
as you go. It's like if it works today, but then tomorrow it changes its mind, then like we'll go with that.
exactly.
So, where can people find you?
They can find me at Blissful Intuitive on Instagram or www.blissfulintuitive.com. I try to keep it intuitive.
And I will add this in the show notes, but also, in what ways can people work with you?
And so I teach all 4 levels of energy training, and I do that internationally. So anywhere. And I do also teach channeling. So I do it's called the Bliss Channel. And so that's in a group dynamic, and it's a 3-month training course, which is different every time, fascinating and fun, and just ways to connect into our intuition. As I always say, it's not that you need to go out and then make this your own life practice, but beautiful for you in any type of business and in your own life, in your relationship. And then I am a certified divorced coach as well. So I work with couples and I work with individuals just in one-to-one work and in spiritual guidance as well.
I love that. And then for your trainings and all of that, is it remote or like online, virtual?
Most of it is online. If
Okay.
people are here in Vancouver, then yes, they can come to see me here. I do have retreats and I do those 3 times a year and workshops as well. So, and then everything else all online.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this and share your
Yes.
journey with me because I know it's going to help so many people.
Yes. Lovely to be here with you again. This is fun.
Yes. Okay, well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Cindy or myself. Our DMs are open and definitely book a session or any training with her because she is amazing. And I will see you guys in the next episode.